Welcome and good morning to Macstaff Live. We're broadcasting today on YouTube and LinkedIn, and you're all very welcome to join us. We're just going to have a very quick 10 or 15-minute discussion today in reaction to yesterday's budget from the government. I'm joined as ever by the MD of Macstaff, Anthony McCormack. Morning, Ant, how are you?
Morning. Yeah, good, thanks. Just a quick one, isn't it? But didn't want to let this kind of prestigious event pass us by, because it's first female chancellor, stepped up to the dispatch box and has delivered what's the biggest kind of budget for ages, really. Love it or hate it, I suppose we'll get into it.
Yeah, correct. Very well pointed out. I take it you're going to be really nice to her during this 10 to 15 minutes, then, are you? With that
I don't know. I'll try.
The background to today's show is the fact that Labour are trying to plug an alleged £25 billion black hole. We won't get into the debate about whether that's true or not on this broadcast, but they've made a number of measures to try and do so. One of the headline figures is the employment contributions for national insurance will be going up, and also the living wage will be going up. So we thought it might be pertinent to pop on and just discuss those issues and how they might affect the recruitment industry. So let's start first, and before we go into an overall picture of these national insurance contributions, employer contributions going up 1.2% to 15% now. How's that going to affect things? And the obvious question is, will SMEs now be wary of employing new staff and giving pay rises on the backdrop of that?
Yeah, I think so. Potentially, that's a concern, because I think philosophically, and I'd like the sound of it, Labour were kind of coming to be in a position where they're the party of business, and it was touted that we can be pro business and pro worker, wasn't it, and pro growth. And I'm a bit concerned that they've kind of done the normal, traditional Labour thing of being pro worker, and the other things have kind of had to take a back seat. So I don't think it's a pro growth budget necessarily, and pro, in terms of being pro employer, this is a big burden that's been put on. It can be, claimed that it's been widely stated there's a 22 billion black hole in the public finances, but they've raised 25 billion, just by the hike in employer NI alone, isn't it? I think there's 76 billion pounds worth of spending been announced in the budget overall, and there's some positives in that the market doesn't seem to be spooked. Actually, I looked, the pound's up this morning. And probably that's because, unlike the famous mini budget, these things are pretty much fully costed by the looks of it. But being fully costed doesn't mean that it's not expensive. I'm really concerned about the 76 billion and putting the brakes on the economy just when we do need the growth. I think it might be that we've kind of took it for granted and been a bit blasé about the fact that inflation has come down. It's come down a lot, but it's actually apparently going to go up a little bit next year already, and that's partly because of inflationary pay rises that that have been given to all the public sector workers and things like that already. So a bit concerned, and NI specifically, that will be a concern to especially small businesses as they plan to add headcount. It might even force some redundancies, and I'm specifically conscious of say the leisure and hospitality industry and things like that, where they employ lots of minimum or living wage people, like younger staff, and it's going to increase costs kind of a lot, in that category. So
it sort of point. It reminded me of my local leisure centre, where when you walk in there, apart from a couple of people, all the staff between sort of 18 and 25, and that's the sort of business I thought this might hurt the most. And in real terms, 1.2% up to 15%. 1% doesn't look a huge amount, but in real terms, over a staff of 15, 20 people, that can make a difference, can't it?
Yeah, and you start paying it after 5 grand instead of 9 grand or something. So it's going to be, everybody's going to be crunching the numbers, but I don't think it's a time to be putting the brakes on growth. That is the thing that pays for all of the spending and keeps money coming into the treasury. If businesses are closing, then it's actually going to reduce the amount that comes in from tax, obviously. I do agree that it's a priority to to get young people properly compensated and that first rung on the housing ladder and everything like that. But I think they've almost attacked the problem from the wrong sides. I think the supply, to improve the supply situation in construction, reviewing the planning system, modern methods of construction, better kind of mortgage deals and things like that would kind of accelerate that process. Handing out more money isn't necessarily the answer. And just doing the quick math, one of my kind of recruitment colleagues yesterday just added up that £12.21 times it by 40 hours a week and 52 weeks a year. It's over 25 grand. That's a big entry level kind of on cost for a business, to employ somebody, literally stacking shelves or something like that. So
yeah, we're specifically talking about the minimum wage there, which has gone up from 11.44 to 12.21, a rise of 6.7%. And I was going to ask you if that in recruitment, is that really mainly only a problem for temporary placements, but it sounds like for permanent placements too.
Yeah, so for temps and contractors, they'll all be kind of running the numbers and working out whether they want to kind of take a hit on any of the margin or pass on the full cost to, to their clients who may or may not be willing and able to do it. But yeah, I'm more concerned, partly as a primarily perm agency, in dampening down the demand for new staff, reducing the amount of jobs in the market, and therefore the kind of the need for our services as well. It doesn't feel like a pro growth situation really.
Yeah, it's quite interesting now that you mentioned the phrase, the term £25,000 for that full-term employee. Is that a cost of where we've come to as an economy over the last 2 years, with inflationary measures going up, house prices going up, food prices going up, etc., etc., etc.? 3 years ago, 25 grand might have been a decent amount to live on. Maybe it's not anymore.
Yeah, it's a kind of shocking number to reflect on it in that way, isn't it? And like people of our kind of age, it's like, I'm starting at work like £3.50 or something like that an hour. And it is a different world, and it's a response to the cost of living. But that doesn't help in the international context, does it? We don't want to be necessarily we kind of do want the high wage, high skill jobs and economy, don't we? But we don't want to be like just a high cost, high tax country, because that makes us unattractive to investors. We're not we're kind of not talking about it, like we're not investing in our own businesses enough, I don't think, as a country either. We're always celebrating that there's been investment from like Tata or companies from Asia. Yeah, it's like, how about investing in our own companies? Do we even like make these strategic acquisitions abroad? Like, I don't think so. Part that should be part of our ambition for growth, and we don't want to kind of price ourselves out the market. But then again, it's nuanced, isn't it? Because we don't want to be the low health and safety slave labour competitor either, do we? So swings and roundabouts. I do respect they're in a difficult situation, like announcing this budget, against the economic backdrop that we're in. And, I think that they've walked the line between, what the general public are after, what, the workers and the employers, and made a pretty good hash of it that's been accepted by the markets, by the sounds of it. But I just kind of don't like the duplicity of it as well, though, because the people were talking before the election about this 20 million being an open secret, a hole in the finances. I just think both sides felt it was not in their favour to acknowledge it, like the Conservatives, because it admits that they'd made a bigger mess of it than even we realised, and Labour because then they would have to say what they were going to do about it, and reveal that they will have to tax and spend. So it's back to the same old situation of the Blues throwing the buns over to the Reds and vice versa. The big strapline was invest, 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 wasn't it? But you could just tweak the word. It's like spend, spend, spend. And the criticism of Labour, isn't it? It's like they always running out of other people's money.
Yeah, and talking of investment, they highlighted several areas which were they described as areas with the biggest growth potential for some government investments as well. Aerospace, automotive, and new life sciences were three that I picked out. That's got to be good for recruitment placements in those areas.
Yeah. So from the short term, the recruitment companies who service those kind of vertical industries, definitely it's a bit of good news, and they are strategic industries. So I do like the investment in those areas, especially if it is across the UK thing. Bringing back the kind of levelling up phrase, which is gone, but I do hope that it's not all London centric growth and investment, and also kind of in the longer term, this is helping set out our stall as a high tech economy with new job creation and hopefully higher productivity through this investment, mostly in kind of capital equipment and things like that, which has been sorely lacking over a long time, and like from governments of all colours really. So yeah, that's good from an industrial standpoint, and obviously nobody's arguing that the NHS doesn't need the investment. So the money going in there is welcome. It's not been mirrored in social care by the sounds of it, which are the Lib Dems disappointed about. So, but you can't do everything all at once, can you? It's already like Bard, Norman Lamont, they were saying on the news, it's the highest kind of spending tax hiking budget in living memory.
Yeah. Another area that particularly Macstaff have done a lot of work in is construction. And I know this is not a new thing that came out of the budget yesterday, but the 1.5 million new homes that needed to be built under this new Labour government in its first term. How's that going to be reflective in the recruitment sector, especially and as a knock-on for businesses like yourselves? Yeah, so
I suppose whilst I do more actual recruitment in commercial and industrial kind of construction, it's definitely welcome that if we can invest and help home builders. I'm kind of going to believe it when I see it, unfortunately though, because every government has said they're going to start building homes, and there's going to be these hundreds of thousands of targets and things like that, which have just been missed for 50 years. We're so far off track in terms of that, and that's kind of a lot of the reason, in my opinion, why we've got the housing crisis, and that property is so expensive. People can't get on the housing ladder because we just haven't had enough affordable supply being done. So that is very welcome, but if previous governments are to be kind of looked at as a guide, it's kind of probably not going to happen. And it's. Do you
seriously think that's unrealistic? And that 1.5 million figure is unrealistic in 5 years?
Well, they'll probably be able to prove that that's been spent, but whether it's moved the needle in terms of housing supply is another thing. They are doing planning change, hopefully improve that and make that process more slick, which is good, because it's the NIMBYism that the not in my backyard that kind of stops people from building, especially on the green belt and things like that. But if we can get building affordable housing, that would definitely be helpful. And then that provides the infrastructure, and I'm glad they're focusing on housing, transportation, NHS, and things like that, because that's the thing that allows growth in the population and in the economy without causing problems. Like, people probably wouldn't be so concerned about immigration if they could they didn't think it was competing for places in supported housing, or if it wasn't adding to the NHS waiting list and things like that. So a little bit of a political hot potato as well. Yeah.
We said we'd only have an answer for 10 or 15 minutes, so we're coming close to the end of that. So let's finish with 2 questions. How long before we know whether the measures announced in yesterday's budget are making positive or negative effects on the infrastructure? Tough question. And finally, just your thoughts overall on what was announced yesterday.
Yeah, well, the infrastructure one's a slow burn, isn't it? So we'll have to kind of probably wait and see until if Labour get a second term to see if that's working. And that's kind of available as a convenient excuse, isn't it, to say, look, there's going to be a load of short-term pain, but don't worry, there's we're investing, we're not just spending. We're going to see the benefits of all this in future, which is kind of true if it works. But if it's stuff like HS2, which just spiraled out of control and didn't even achieve its objectives, which weren't even probably very important in the first place, then that's not great. And the other question. Sorry, there was the infrastructure and something else.
Yeah, just your thoughts overall on what was announced yesterday. Positive, negative, doubts?
Yeah, there's the timings of how it's going to work, wasn't I? I was going to point out that, as usual, and it was on the BBC last night, that that all the spending and investment and tax rises and things like that happen right at the beginning of the Parliament. Hopefully they're certainly planning that we'll be seeing the benefits of it within the 4 to 5 years of the next election looming. So that's the way politics works in that kind of short-term cycle, isn't it? I would expect that we'll see some good news, or certainly things that can be claimed as good news, before we kind of go into election mode again and campaigning next time. And in terms of my overall thoughts, I think it might have gone too far. I want to invest in public services and key industries and the future and growth and things like that. But you can't put a burden, almost like casually, it looked like, onto employers, because that's the vehicle for money into the treasury. I think they might put the brakes on the economy. I hope not, because we've had a tough couple of years in recruitment, and we're ready to see the expansion and to ride that wave. So hopefully I'm wrong, but I'm a bit concerned that it's been too much too fast in terms of the tax burden, actually.
Okay, time will tell, as I'm sure we all agree. If you enjoyed today's show, we've got plenty of others on the Macstaff YouTube channel that you might be interested in. There's one we did a few months ago, How the Election Changed the Country, with friends of the show, Sarah Bishop and Mark Hopkins, also recruitment big hitters. We did one about a month ago, How are Labour doing after their first 100 days? So have a look at that. But it's not all politics based, and there's plenty of help for both clients and candidates, hiring companies and people looking for new jobs. So there's videos like, if you've been made redundant, what do you do next? And all sorts of things on the Macstaff YouTube channel. So please check that out and pick Anthony's brains. He's been in the business now for over 2 decades, so it's well worth doing. If you'd like to find out more about Macstaff, the website address is on the bottom of the screen right now. If you're watching us on YouTube today, please subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back here soon. If you've watched on LinkedIn today, thanks a lot for joining us. That just leaves me, Martin Croson, to say thanks once again for joining us here on Macstaff Live. Anthony, thanks a lot for your time. Have a good day.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. Thanks all, and keep positive, and let's see what happens.
All the best. Thanks a lot for joining us on Macstaff Live. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.